This conference will now be recorded.
All right, as always, everything that we're going to be talking about today is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. Now, we are going to talk about Apple first of all. So this morning was a little bit interesting because it took a little while for any type of market makers to really come into the market. We just weren't really seeing much. I mean, things were really, really slow, especially the first few minutes of the market. I really didn't see much going on out there whatsoever. But Apple probably gave us one of the best show of hands that we've had. And it's not even to the short side 100%. But first, we saw that we had our print line that was sitting here at 174.18, and then 172.29. We have 1.2 million shares that were sitting right there. It was just a perfect setup to come back in. So we started breaking back down. We hit this little bottom that was coming back up, and then we can see right here from that 930 print of 134.96, 454,000 shares. There was no question that we were getting down to that print line. And I even wrote in the chat room, I mean, it made our short so much of a higher percentage, basically off the fact that it should have hit the print line the first time. And the fact that it kept bouncing back up was really just because we got so much selling that was coming back into it. So after I went to a lunch, probably what about give or take, well, not even lying. We had a meeting and then 11:30, give or take, coming back in. But 173, this is a spot that we certainly want to remember. So coming in, I'm even going to put a line sitting here right at 173 because of the fact that it hit it so many times on that selling side. We need a bigger pullback, so we ended up getting that breakdown move towards that 170, but overall above 173 is where we have to end up pulling back up until we end up seeing come back down. The one interesting thing is that Apple I use pretty much as my indicator for what I'm expecting in the overall market, and the fact that we just continuously keep getting selling at the lows is not a good sign for the market whatsoever. But overall for Apple, looking for that to go above that 173 line because of the amount of selling. This morning's list was really little. So RSLS, one of the biggest problems that we see when these cheaper stocks, when they end up making, it's not even really a problem, but once these cheaper stocks end up making a move during the pre-market, a lot of times we end up seeing them just die off, and that's exactly what happened to RSLS. We have buying at 250, we have buying at 3, but it's certainly not happening today. I mean, this thing is just absolutely dead. Now, could it happen today? Yeah, but don't expect it whatsoever. But overall, like I said, we definitely have that buying at 3 and 250. Just nothing to even look at. ABIL is another one where, it was on our side list, and then pretty much the second the market opened, we ended up getting that sell off. So let's take a look at what we're going to be looking for this afternoon. So obviously Apple, on continuously coming back up, especially above the print line that we have here. That's probably one of my favorite trades that we have so far. You can see volume definitely is getting lower. 172.29 is where we have 1.2 million shares, and we know we need that pull up above 173. And then one of the only other things is ANY. So ANY, we've just had absolutely phenomenal buying coming in. So about 9:45ish, we started to see that volume really pick up, and we came up all the way to that 8 level. We knew it needed to pull back based off the prints that we had at that 8 level. And after we pulled back, I mean, not the easiest trades, and one of the reasons behind that is just because the sporadic volume. I mean, you can see it's not what we really would like, especially on one of these cheaper stocks. But one of the things that we do see is that it held after it broke down a substantial amount. I mean, we're talking about going from 8 to 650, $1.50 move towards that downside. Never really got the volume trigger I would like to see coming back up. But 121, basically right before we started our meeting, we can see we have more prints at that 8 level. Okay, so one of the things with any is at that 8, it has a ton of buying. Someone is buying a big position. Based off our daily over here, we can see that the measured move pretty much is completed. But it looks like we're going to be getting a lot more. So based off that buying at that 8 level, overall, I'm looking for this thing to come to the 10, just because, once again, how much buying that we do see, and how as big the position that we've been seeing coming in over the past week or so at that 8. But as of right this second, even though we're going to be putting on our list because we just don't have much going on out there, we certainly, it's a little bit extended for what I would expect. The only thing that I could think of is that maybe we might get some type of afternoon run that's coming back into there, but overall, we need to pull back underneath that 8 before we really get, that bigger move coming from the position of the person that came in at the 8 level. And other than that, I don't really see too much else out there. I mean, our everyday stocks, I know, Facebook, 132, excuse me, we really pulled up. Twitter had some great buying that came in at that 32 level. Everything else is it's just kind of floating out there. So let's take a look at our scanners real quick and see if anything new has popped up since I've done my scanning, but it's just not much. SPEX we were looking at earlier this morning made a nice jump up. There is some buying coming up here, but we have to remember for a dollar stock, a 5-cent move is a lot. So even with that buying that we had coming in, as it had to pull back, and there's just not really much there whatsoever. But we are holding that 103 print line of 29,000, which is certainly something to keep on our radar. Just nothing going on within the volume or any variables that tell us it's going to be able to move today. We have SPWR 4.7 million, and this is another one. I mean, it's moving, but the volume is just very, very sporadic. And I can't, especially on a cheaper stock, I can't stand that. I need to see something that's definitive, constant volume or something that at least gives us some type of clue that the stock is going to be able to continue to move. Coming into that 7 level, it's not showing up on this time and sales over here, but we do have buying there. So I mean, it certainly shows us that we can continue on going higher. But that's going to have to be one of our side list stocks, just because of the fact, once again, it's not definitive. That's what we look for every single trade. It's just something that's absolutely definitive, and I don't see that here whatsoever. JKS, nothing whatsoever, and you can see the volume on the gainer side of things is just extremely low. So coming over to the loser side, it's another, same type of deal. ZFGN, we have 3 million shares, but just nothing, no real trading that's going on in it. RSLS, we've already spoken about, and that is pretty much it. So it looks like this afternoon we're really going to be focusing a lot on our everyday stocks, and everything else is just, there's just nothing really new out there. But, to be expected because of the fact that, we're coming back from a holiday week, which, usually we see, it takes at least the morning time, and usually takes them about, until about Tuesday, Wednesday, for us to start seeing things really kick in. All right, so as I'm speaking, Eni is coming up to that 850, so certainly going to be looking at that level right there. And then Apple is, one of the almost obvious things that we have there, based off the fact that at that 173 we have all that selling that it needs to pull up from. Now, anything else out there that I missed? Yeah, that's about it. All right, guys. So, just once again, just a slow day. Remember, tomorrow is our Traders Exchange. Let's make sure that we start thinking about our questions and our topics. Let's make sure we send them to te@aheadofthecharts.com. I will talk to everyone in the chat, and happy trading.